What's up guys, macadii here, and today guys, week 1 of the DSL League, where I am up against Who's a Cute Tepig, coach of the New England Emboars. So if you guys are excited for this, don't forget to leave a like down below, I would really appreciate it. As always, what we're going to be doing is I will run through what he could bring, what I am bringing to try and answer to that, and then we will go into the battle where you will see my sort of thoughts as I go through from there. So let's jump first of all into what he's got. He has got an incredibly threatening draft, lots of things that put a lot of pressure on my team. He's got Landorus-I to start with, and Landorus-I is a massive pain to try and deal with. The Suicune, which Cryogonal, I have a few answers to, and I've had to prep quite hard for. The Amoonguss, which I have to try and sort out problems from sleep and stuff like that. The Arcanine, which I do have quite a few checks to, so I'm not massively worried about it. The Aromatisse, Rhydon, M-Heracross, which I think I basically have almost no switch-ins to it that aren't 2-hit KO'd. So that's very spooky, which has kind of forced me to play a much more offensive draft, as I will show you in a sec. The Gothitelle, which can trap and kill quite a lot of different things. Magnezone, Noivern, and then finally Cryogonal. So a mix of different stuff. As I said, the main threat seems to be the M-Heracross, which really puts pressure on a lot of walls and stuff like that. And also the Landorus-I, which is really spooky. There's so many things Landorus-I can do, and it hits so hard with that sheer force life orb that I knew it was going to be a big problem. So the first Pokemon I wanted to build in terms of trying to beat him was definitely, I knew I had to bring Talonflame, because Talonflame checks a lot of his things. It checks the Cryogonal, checks the Noivern, because I can put a lot of pressure on that, the M-Heracross as well. I can set up on the Aromatisse, the Arcanine outside of maybe the offensive Wild Charge, but even then I can just respam and basically deal with it from there. I can hit the Amoonguss very hard. I do kind of get walled by Suicune, but it's, as I said, the main one seemed to be either the Suicune or the Rhydon I knew was going to give my Talonflame problems. And then finally, Landorus-I at +2, I can, it's a bit of a roll to kill, but after rocks, I do almost definitely kill. So that was kind of the plan, was to have my Swords Dance Talonflame, so use the rest of my team to weaken his team to a point where my Talonflame can come in, SD up, and basically sweep from there. Because as I said, there's a few things I can set up on, like the Aromatisse, potentially the Cryogonal, depending on the spread, and then finally the probably the Amoonguss as well, depending. I'd need to scout out whether it's got Spore or not, but at the very least I can put pressure on that. So that was kind of the plan with the Talonflame. I've got leftovers for extra bulk, enough speed to outspeed Scarf Magnezone, which means that even if he does slap a Choice Scarf on it, I still outspeed. Flare Blitz will kill at +2, so that was kind of the plan with that one. I'm just going to move my mic a little bit closer. So the big problems I had from there was I still had problems with Suicune setting up. If he had Calm Mind or Cryogonal or Calm Mind or Aromatisse, I knew I was going to be in a spot above her. He also doesn't have too many reliable switch-ins outside of the Magnezone, which is 3-hit KO'd by way through the Gardevoir. So I decided on a slightly interesting spread, which is a Hyper Voice set with Hyper Voice, Psyshock, Calm Mind, and Pain Split. So the idea of this was I can basically Calm Mind up alongside the Suicune, beat it 1v1 because I can Psyshock and he only hits me on the special side, and then I can Pain Split as well, so if he decides to rest up, I can get all of that HP back, which is really nice. Same again with the Aromatisse. If he tries to do the same thing, I can Pain Split, steal all of that HP back. Once I get to +1, he's not got anything that really switches in reliably, and his main checks list, like the Magnezone and the Amoonguss, are all sorts of special. I imagined at the time he might bring an Amoonguss with a Psychic Berry, because that's a really good check to Gardevoir. You basically come in on a Hyper Voice, then they go for the Psyshock, you eat your berry, and then you sludge one back basically, and you win from there. So I'd have to scout for that, but apart from that, I just hit his team incredibly hard. The Arcanine, if it's defensive, I can set up kind of on it with the Calm Mind and Pain Split. It's a little bit iffy, it would have to depend on his spread, but it would certainly be a possibility. So from there, I decided to go for my low tip, because my low tips are really nice. Switching to things like the Rhydon, which sounds really stupid, but I have a feeling he's going to bring it because it's a really good check to winging it. I also decided to bring this because this allows me to haze things like the Suicune so it can't set up on me. This is also my only real check to Landorus-I to switch in, because I can just about not get 2-hit KO'd with this spread. I need to be physically defensive because that allows me to handle things like the M-Heracross, the Arcanine as well, because otherwise I don't have much of a switch in. I can still handle offensive Arcanine with this spread, so that's why I decided to go for this one. We then had the Shaman, which is a Life Orb Shaman. He's not got too many switches into this guy. So this guy's designed to be sort of very, very fast, but also a lot of power as well, because we outspeed a lot of different things. Also on top of that, the Milotics are checked to the Noivern as well, because we do have that Ice Beam, so we can switch into a Specs Noivern if needs be and force it out from there, or just Ice Beam away and kill it. But the Shaman's designed to basically just Seed Flare and just do a bit of wall breaking, really. The only things he's really got to switch into a Seed Flare is probably the M-Heracross, the Noivern, which I can't do a huge amount to, but Seed Flare still does a really good amount to. I can still do a good amount to the Landorus-I if he decides. He basically can't switch in the Landorus-I, which is really, really nice. And just, as I said, just puts a lot of pressure on. The coverage moves, so the Earth Power there is to be able to hit things like the Arcanine really hard if it's defensive. And also the Air Slash is there for M-Heracross, because otherwise the set kind of get walls by. I could have gone for a Psychic move, but I think overall the Air Slash just worked a little bit better, because it allowed me to still hit the Amoonguss hard. I've got the flinch chance and all of that stuff. So that was kind of the plan with that. From there, I did need some sort of Stealth Rocker, because his only Rapid Spinner is the Cryogonal. So I definitely decided Nidoqueen was definitely going to come. I was considering the Fortress, but the Fortress doesn't really do much. And the fact he's got the Magnezone to trap, he's got Gothitelle to trap, it's not going to be a happy time for him. So I decided the Nidoqueen was probably the best bet, with a good amount in HP, a tiny bit in HP, but mostly sort of speed investments, so I can outspeed things like defensive Arcanine, and most of his walls and stuff like that, and do a little bit more wall breaking. I could have gone for a more bulky spread, but to be honest, like as I said, Landorus-I, even with max HP, just destroys this thing. So I'm not really able to have the liberty to get a good amount of HP on. I'm much better off outspeeding stuff than I am sponging a hit. It also means at this spread I outspeed Gothitelle regardless, outside of it, unless it's a Choice Scarf set. So that's also really important. So I could potentially 2-hit KO that if he decides to bring a more bulky spread. We got Earth Power on that, obviously to hit the Arcanine and the Rhydon and things like that. Sludge Wave, he's not got too many switches into outside of the Magnezone, which I can then from there Earth Power if it's not Scarf, because I still outspeed a non-scarfed Magnezone. And then finally the Ice Beam, because that allows me to hit things like the Noivern really hard. The Amoonguss as well, I can hit super effectively. So overall, really nice coverage to hit his team. Now, this was the really tricky one. Originally, I had built the team around a concept where I had Zoroark, and I had Pursuit on there, because Pursuit allowed me to Pursuit trap the Gothitelle. I had Sucker Punch, because that allowed me to hit things like the Noivern with priority, the Landorus-I, just anything that basically outsped and was Scarfed, I could hit really hard with the Sucker Punch. He hasn't got too many Dark Resists outside the M-Heracross, so I think I had Pursuit, Sucker Punch, Flamethrower, and I can't remember what the last move was. It was something, Grass Knot. Because the whole point of this was I was going to lead off with a Talonflame to sort of pretends that it is Talonflame, to make him go into the Rhydon, or if he leads Rhydon, get him into full sense of security, and then Grass Knot and Oko from there. But unfortunately, I made the decision here, which made my life a little bit harder, that I needed Defog, because if I did get Rocks up, Winging It, which was my win condition, would have to take Rocks damage, which wouldn't be great at all. So this one I ended up bringing, which was definitely not the most optimal thing. It was, as I said, it was either this or Fortress, if I wanted to get rid of hazards, and Latias had a slightly better matchup, but it still wasn't fantastic. Like, I could still drop Dracos outside of the Aromatisse. Psyshock did a respectable amount of damage to most things, but overall, on reflection, I think the Zoroark was probably a little bit more useful. So what we're going to do now is move over to the battle, and you will see what he's decided to bring, and the sort of moves that, basically how the battle worked out. Okay, so we are at the battle, and as you can see, he decided not to bring the Landorus-I, which was very, very interesting, but that helped me a lot. I did then realise that I probably under-prepped for Cryogonal, because it sounds really stupid, and I know it's down in PU, but the combination of Freeze Dry and Ice Beam actually hits my team incredibly hard, and as soon as I saw it, I was like, actually, I've just made a really, really big boo-boo. I should have definitely most likely brought the Zoroark set, because outside the Aromatisse, I could Grass Knot that, Sucker Punch still did a respectable amount, Sucker Punch, or even Pursuit Trap it, forcing the switch, and then finally Pursuit Trap the Gothitelle. So my gut feeling of bringing the Zoroark, and then I ignored it, was definitely a mistake on my part. But what I definitely saw was I had to be really careful with that Cryogonal. If that Cryogonal was Scarf, it can do a huge amount to most things. I could probably Oko that. And then Freeze Dry, I calced it, and I can actually take the Freeze Dry, so I wasn't too worried. It was just these three that was the main problem, and it was actually trying to find reliable switch-ins to it. So In terms of my lead, I did predict him to lead off the Rhydon, so I thought I would lead off with Shaman to put the most amount of pressure on. I can pressure if he, leads off with the Magnezone, I can pressure it. If he leads off with Aromatisse, I can still pressure it. So we'll jump into the battle. So I lead off with the Shaman, as he does lead off with the Cryogonal. Very, very bad matchup for me. So I go into Waifu, I counter, I can take the hit. As he goes to the Freeze Dry, I can take that relatively comfortably. So this allows me a chance to Mega Up. Now I just want to click Hyper Voice here. Oh no, I clicked Psy Shock, sorry, to do a reasonable amount of damage. I just need to wear down the Magnezone. He does go for a double here and doubles out into this. So this is a really, really bad setup for us. We've not done very well from the get-go. And his double into Gothitelle was very, very good on his part. So I had to think about what I wanted to do here. I knew if he was Scarfed, I would die, but he would have to 2-hit KO me. Regardless of his spread, he would have to 2-hit KO me. So I thought, am I better off getting a hit off, or do I want to get at my rocks? So I had a look. I said, I mean, the Cryogonal might be Scarf, but even then, I'm still going to be getting rocks damage on that. I'll be getting rocks damage on the Noivern, which could also be really, really huge, and just generally wearing down his team. So I thought, I'll get up rocks, and then if I get the chance as a sort of bonus, I'll go for the Sludge Wave to get some damage off. So I go for my rocks. I outspeed, so I am able to go for an Earth Power here to get a good amount of damage, and I am going to go down to a Psychic here. So that's unfortunate. I lost my Nidoqueen, but my Nidoqueen's got rocks up now, so that's really, really nice. Now, if I had the Zoroark set, this would be the point where I could go in, trap it, kill it, and then it would not be a problem. But because I was really, really stupid, I basically got a little bit hot-headed here, went into Hotline Wing, and was like, right, I'm going to drop a Draco here. And as you can see, he does go out into the Aromatisse, so my mind was definitely not in the right place with this battle. I got a little bit spooked, and losing my Nidoqueen so early and stuff like that meant I was definitely on the back foot. So I go back into Gardevoir, he goes to the Moonblast, that's fine, I know I can take it. So I was like, right, I'm going to go for a Hyper Voice here, scout out the spread. So he looks to be a specially defensive set with the Calm Mind as well. So I decide to go for my own Calm Mind here, because I know I can heal up if he decides to go for the Wish. He goes to the Moonblast, and I'm thinking, oh, that's fine. I'm going to go for the Pain Split here, get a good amount of HP back as he goes to the Moonblast, and from here, a Hyper Voice does kill. So I do go for the Hyper Voice here as he goes into Magnezone, which is fair enough. No, I go for the Psyshock, sorry, to hit him defensively, because it made a little bit more sense. I go into the Shaman here as he goes to the Volt Switch. So he makes a really good play going out for the Volt Switch. Now I'm worried he might potentially have double Scarf. And now that he goes into this, I'm really, really worried he might have double Scarf. So he goes to the Freeze Dry, I can take it with the Talonflame, and I decide to go for the decide to double out here into the Shaman, that's it. So the Rhydon switch was really obvious, and I can fire off a really powerful Seed Flare and get a good amount of damage on something. So I go for the Seed Flare here, and we take out the Magnezone, so that's really nice. One of the really big checks to Gardevoir is now out of the way. And potentially if we can get another Pain Split up on something, we could start setting up again. So out comes the Noivern. Noivern is very, very spooky. So I do go into Marvel Fail here as he goes to the Hurricane. And as you can see, I can take it. Counter is definitely Specs. He goes into Gothitelle here. I'm kind of forced to recover up here as he is out into the Gothitelle. Now, this is where I was really, really worried. I do go for the Scald here to see what sort of set he is. And he goes to the rest. So this now basically looks to be some sort of calm-minding mono-attacking set, which if I had the Zoroark would have been even more perfect, because as I said, I could trap it and it wouldn't even be able to touch me. So he goes to the rest, and basically we have a lot of turns of PP stalling here. There you go. And finally, I managed to wear him down, and he realizes at this point that basically he has to try and weaken my Marvel Fail down to a point. He's not going to be able to win this stall match because I do actually have more PP than him, and he's going to end up losing it, and I could potentially end up finishing with more HP. So he ends up sacrificing that. I'm stuck into Ice Cool. He goes into Ice Cool Crash, and I decide to stack up for my Milotic here, which I think was an iffy play, considering I could have outsped both the Aromatisse and the Rhydon. I don't think that was the right play to do. I probably should have sacked something else, but it was difficult at the time knowing what to sack, because the Shaman was already really huge, because I can wall break quite well with that. I didn't want to lose Winging, and if I got Stealth Rocks up, then Winging it would be if he got Stealth Rocks up, Winging it would be a lot worse, especially when I'd have to sack off Latias. So I go into Talonflame here, and he does go back out into Rhydon here, and I go for the Brave Bird, predicting him to predict me to over-predict, but unfortunately he does make the right play and go into the Rhydon here. And so I switch out here, go into my Shaman, because I know I can take any hit. He does go for the Rock Slide, and that's absolutely fine on my part. I go for the Sea Flare here, because he's not got too much that can switch in. And Earth Power would definitely not make sense, and Earth's Air Slash as well definitely didn't either. So he does go into the Noivern. I get a good amount of damage off him onto him, and I unfortunately have to sack off my Shaman because I don't have a switch in. from here, I can go into my Hotline Wing. As he does go for the Hurricane, I know I can take it as it being Specs, and I take out the guy that mainly outspeeds. So, as I said, we still don't know if this Cryogonal is Scarf or not, but now that he brought it in here, we know for a fact it is definitely a Scarf Cryogonal, which I knew was going to be a massive problem. He's still got the Rhydon as well, so I'm not looking in a very good spot here. So I decided to go out into my Talonflame because I know I can take the hit, but unfortunately the Ice Beam does crit, which is a really big problem. That basically seals the deal for the loss, because otherwise I could have potentially roosted up with the Talonflame and done something. But to be honest, even if I had managed to roost up, I don't think I've been able to pull it back. He played the Rhydon really well, keeping it at the back, knowing that that's his answer to the Talonflame. And I basically get swept by a Scarf Cryogonal here. And yeah, so that is an unfortunate week for week 1. I know I made a lot of mistakes, but I think it's part of it. I think I lost in the team building. Making that decision to get rid of that set was definitely a really big mistake on my part, and it's something I really shouldn't have done. Like, if my gut says to bring a set and it looks really nice, and then to scrap it, sometimes is not the best idea in the world. But anyway, I made my mistakes. I know where I made my mistakes and how to improve from there. I need to try and bring a little bit more bulk. I think the trouble was I brought more offense because I was worried about the M-Heracross and stuff like that, and the fact that I outsped most of his team. But the problem is that the double Scarfers there really screwed me over, so that's something I definitely need to watch out for. But anyway, as I said, learn from my mistakes, and hopefully going from there, get a few more wins. But anyway, hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you guys at the next one. Macadii out.